So step one is picking a niche, right? So for myself, right, being an agent, frustrated with leadership, lack of a system and predictability, that's where I went to make sure that any other agent that came in, they were never in Arturo's shoes to not know how to get customers. It's crazy to think that you can grow a business and you don't know where your next sale is going to come from, right?
True.
That's not really a business. And so if you don't have a client acquisition system, you don't have a business, right?
Yo, what is up, Power Player Podcast? I'm your host, Cody Askins. We are back for another episode. We've been dropping them like crazy, by the way. When we drop them like crazy, I want to also find crazy freaking people that I love hanging out with in the space, which brings back from Arturo Johnson Consulting. Please welcome back to the channel and the podcast. The dude's an OG, a marketer, a freak, not a great top golfer. Please welcome Arturo Johnson.
Yeah, definitely. Staying in my lane, top golf is not my thing, but all things digital marketing for sure. And it's good to be back, man. I haven't seen you since you were at the mastermind here in Nashville. How was that for you, by the way?
Oh my gosh, dude, like freaking amazing. You have great community, good, awesome people. Like you had some real heavy hitters hanging out together, like sharing ideas. It was special. Like I love being able to be a part of that. So thank you for bringing me out, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's always good to have, some high level people there. We got you, Hamadi, John Wetmore, Branding, right? Some really smart people, Mendenhall, like some people you probably hadn't seen or talked to in a while. So, it's good to get together and have a good time. You know what I mean? And like, actually, like, we all work hard, but then sometimes we get to play hard too. And that was one of those scenarios where we got to learn a lot. We dug in. You were dropping some straight fire. Thanks, dude. At one point, you like, am I good? Can I keep? I was like, bro, keep going, bro. You were making it rain, and then go and do top golf, and obviously going to the Southern and eating good.
That's it.
Phenomenal. One of those bone-in ribeyes, bro.
Let's go, man. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go back. I'm on my way. Right. I'm on my way. Well, dude, we've had you on a few times. Like you always spit some gold. Everybody loves when they get to see and hang out with you. You're spending a ton of money online. You're branding. People know who you are, right? For the most part, or if they don't, you freaking should. Okay. And I feel like one of the things that you help people with is finding people who are ready to buy now. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when you're transitioning from face-to-face to online, there's a kind of a mindset shift that you have to make. So typically, the traditional way is just get a lot of phone numbers, get a lot of addresses, get a lot of contacts, and then just kind of spray and pray and like do a ton of different things. Yeah. And that strategy works just because of the proximity aspect. Like you're able to look people in the eye, you're able to look at their tonality and cadence, you're able to influence people when you're in the same room with them, which is why selling from stage works so well, right? Everybody wants to do what everybody's doing and nobody wants to do what nobody's doing. And when you're able to sit on the same side of the table with folks, it's easier to kind of influence them. But the challenge with that is the volume, right? Trying to exponentially scale to double and triple your business means you got to work 2 or 3 times as hard, or you got to work smarter instead of harder, meaning you got to leverage AI. And so that's kind of what I've been preaching lately. I don't know if anybody's seen any stuff online, but the name of the game now is speed to lead. So for the life insurance agent that seeing their lead spend costs rise and their return lower, they think it's the lead vendor. They think that it's the leads are bad, right? Or the source is wrong, but it's speed to lead. The thing that they're missing is AI won't replace a life insurance agent. Shout out to Alex Branding, because this was one of the nuggets that he dropped. AI won't replace life insurance agent, but the agent using AI will. And the reason why that's important is because speed to lead counts. So agent A that's still doing it the old school way buys leads, gets them off CRM or whatever, and then they either got to drive to the house or they're trying to prospect using the phone. And all of that time has been as a buffer between when they actually got the lead, when they filled out the form, and then when contact is made, as opposed to the new school agent that's leveraging AI, getting an instant text. is going into a Google sheet. They've already called them, they've booked them, and sometimes they've even been sold. And you wonder why, people aren't picking up the phone or answering the doors, because they're already someone else's customers. And so what you want to do is you want to try to compress time. And the most impressive thing, there's two impressive things about doing things online. The first one is how fast you can compress time. And so most agents can probably prospect, and maybe if they're really good and dedicated and disciplined, talk to about 1,000 people in a week. Well, you can do that in one day online. Advertising can actually do 5-10 times that in one day. So that's why you're starting to see these crazy numbers where agents are putting up in 1 month what most agents are doing in a year. And so that's the first one. And then I think the second one is you can outpace the no-show ratio, right? So you can book your calendar so packed that you don't have to drive, that you can do 20 appointments in a day and get a 75% no-show rate and still write $40K in a month.
Yes.
Right. Because what happens is you have so many people hopping on your calendar, 50% of them no-show, right, out of 20. So you talk to 10, and then maybe 5 of them is actually like a sit, and then you sell 2 or 3. Well, selling 1 to 3 policies a day will get you right where you need to get to that in a month. And the magic number is about 100 appointments a week is what you need in order to do that. Wow. And so then on top of that, even on a deeper level, one thing that I did discover about doing things online is your costs are fixed. Mm-hmm. Now agents are able to run a real business, right? Because agent A, doing it the old school way, guess what? He's got his credit card over here for these leads. He got a QR code for 20% off over here. He's got his bank hooked up to these mailers, right? Or this mortgage protection vendor. 500, 1,000, 1,500 is coming out of everywhere. And there's only 2 ways to really grow your profit in a business, right? It's either decreasing your expenses or increasing your profits, right?
Yes.
And increasing your prices, excuse me. And so if you're a life insurance agent, you can't really dictate the price of the insurance. So you can't do that. So the only way is to increase your closing ratio or decrease your costs. Well, if you don't know how much you're spending every single month, because it's unpredictable, because your card is all across town, then it makes it impossible. But online, once you crack the code, I'm spending 8 to 10K every single month. You have a fixed expense. Now you can start to project how much you're going to make and how much you're going to make next month and doubling in. And I think most agents really don't know, what their expenses are. So it makes it really hard to even feel like you're getting somewhere, and they feel like they're treading water.
True. Yeah. You also mentioned 100 appointments a week a second ago. Did I hear that right?
That's 100% correct. Yeah.
Talk to me through that piece, because some agents are going to be like, how is it even possible?
Yeah, for sure. So, what's funny that the cool thing about numbers is there's these trends, right? These ratios that kind of come up where the percentages are just like regression to the mean. So things are likely to happen with large numbers. So, and it's still relative to being in the field, because I remember John Wetmore came and he spoke, and he said that when he was doing it in the field, it was 30 appointments a week. You would sit with probably like 15 and make 12 sales. Mm. And so online, right, to make sure that you still get to 12, the no-show rate is going to be higher, like 50, 60%, but you combat that by having more appointments every single day. So when you do 100, that's the magic number. It still allows you to get the same throughput. And so you're like, man, well, 100, that seems like a lot. Yeah, well, you still have to factor in, you don't have to focus gas, right? Car time in the car, sitting in traffic, getting all the way there and nobody being there, getting porched and no show. And so that allows you to sit at your desk and run through appointments, 20 a day, and be able to be as efficient as possible. So how do you get 100 appointments a week? Well, the first thing you need to do is, number one, you need to have a specific group of people that you're focusing on, right? You need to understand what problems they have and have a solution for them. And the easiest way to do that is, one, you need to look at things that you've done before. Like, what are the skills, the knowledge, and the trades that you already have? a lot of times the most successful people that are able to provide a solution is because they used to be in that other person's shoes, right? So step one is picking a niche, right? So for myself, right, being an agent, frustrated with leadership, lack of a system and predictability, that's where I went to make sure that any other agent that came in, they were never in Arturo's shoes to not know how to get customers. It's crazy to think that you can grow a business and you don't know where your next sale is going to come from, right?
True.
That's not really a business. And so
No.
if you don't have a client acquisition system, you don't have a business, right? So that's step one, right? The next step is you need to have a system to be able to set appointments and to make sales. And a lot of times agents, they never get out of step one, which is they hop from lead vendor to lead vendor to lead vendor. And that's just the first rung, which is leads is just that's the lifeblood of the business, but it's still the ground level. It's the foundation. Yeah. The next thing you got to do is you got to book some appointments to have opportunity to make sales. So then after you, book appointments, then the next thing you need to do is you need to get good at closing. The number one expense in your business, I said this before, isn't leads. It isn't business overhead. It's lost sales. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, life insurance agents have still using the same process that worked 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and then try to translate that to online. And that's where the sales are getting missed. And then the third piece is, knowing your numbers. I can tell you, I've talked to hundreds of agents every single week, and they don't know their numbers. And one of the components is what I said before, which is they don't know what their expenses are. Right?
True.
So, so going online, it gives you a sense of predictability that you can factor in everything that can kind of go wrong, and put in a little bit of a buffer in there to make sure that you still hit your numbers. So back to the 100 appointments a week. So the smart agent that has mastered and have a system that generates a ton of leads for them, they do three things. The first thing they do is they make sure they spend enough to be too busy to fail, right? So if you want to get to, let's say, $100,000 a month, right, you need to be willing to spend 20% of that, right? It's the back of the napkin math, right? You need to already come into the process that you're willing to commit 20K to make 100. Does that make sense? Because the first starts with the mindset. If you're not willing to spend that, right, then it's never going to happen. I know you for yourself, you spend a ton of money on marketing, right?
Yeah, just
right?
a little bit.
Right. So, most people want change, but they're only willing to invest a little piece of change, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
That's really strong advice, man. I love that you mentioned that, because there's so many people that, yes, they struggle with, like, there's a mental block, and spending money is like the last thing they think they're going to need to do or have to do, or they're hoping it's the last thing they have to like pull out of the bag of tricks, dude, a lot of times it's it's the fastest way to solve problems, to get a business rolling. But why do we have that? Like, is it just like that we grew up as kids and we just have this, like, there's this like societal thing going on where we're just like scared to spend it, or we're hoarding it because we're afraid we're going to lose it, or like, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it's like most people have the most resistance when it comes time to pay. Like when it comes time to, they're all in until it comes time to invest. And it's just because, we look at things differently, right? Most agents only look at their ROI, but they never look at the COI, right? They look at the return. Well, the first piece I always mention to agents is, well, the only way to get a return is to first invest, right? You have to put some skin in the game. You have to assume some risk in order to get a return, number one. And then two, you have to look at the COI, which is the cost of inaction. How much is this costing you not doing it? Right? So agent A wants to make 20K a month, and they're making 10 right now. And the system that they're doing, they're getting maybe a 1.5 to a 2x return on their investment. And they're spending all their time on the phone, and they're working really hard just to break even or make a little bit. Well, you're making 10, but not having the right system is costing you 10K a month. So in a year, you're losing $120,000 not having it. So if you could get a predictable system that would, one, give you back your time, right? and allow you to scale your business predictably, right? And it costs you 5, 10K. Like you take that every time. If somebody told me every time I gave them $1, I gave them $1, they give me back 10. You want to take that every single time. So it's all in how you look at things. And then the second thing is you have to be willing to go all in, right? The most successful people, right, do the most activity and take the biggest risk. You have to go all in on yourself and be willing to be wrong and to fail, but also be prepared to trust in your ability to figure it out. And I think a lot of times going through growing up and the things we're told is you need to go to school, sit down, stand up when the bell goes. When you get a good job after coming out of school, you're not smart enough to do this with your money. You need to have somebody that will take it out of your check. And when you get 65 years old, you'll have enough to retire 40%. So we don't trust our innate ability to figure things out. Like we're not smart enough to figure it out. But you and I both know that it's your creativity and trying things, so many things that is when you figure it out. It's not sitting in there like, I wonder if this ad would work.
Yeah.
Right. That's not how it works. You don't figure it out before you do it. You do something, you fail, you reiterate on that. You get feedback, you test, you use the data, and you just kind of keep going.
Correct. Yes. It's interesting. Like you say that success comes from the most activity, the biggest risk. I tend to be the most creative when I put my back against the wall the most. When I'm just buried and I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I made this crazy big decision, or I want to accomplish this huge, audacious thing. Then my back's against the wall. I have no place to go but forward. And I become the most creative and the most urgent when I put myself in those examples.
Yeah, man. You know what's funny about that is because you're at the edge, right? There's nowhere else to go. You've already taken that step out. And now it's like, well, I'm already right here. I might as well jump. But also it makes you the most present, where when you got all the chips on the line, you're the most present. And it's like, I have to figure this out. It has to work or it has to work. There is no plan B, right? And you rise to the occasion. You put yourself in a position to be at your highest self, and you believe in your ability to figure it out. And then you're like, dude, we'll be fine. Yes. Everybody else is like, bro, you just spend $1 million on this and that. It's like, no, we'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Here, so as an example, what sport are you? We'll give a visual. What sport are you the most successful? Basketball.
Yeah.
Okay, you would get destroyed, but let's just say basketball. Okay. How much would you put $100 on the line against me in basketball?
Oh, of course.
Would you put 1,000?
Yes.
Would you put 10,000?
I would put up whatever you wanted to go.
You would put $1 million.
Yes.
Would you put up 10 million?
I would put up whatever. Okay,
what about, let's use a different sport thing because this isn't working, right? But you get the idea. Like if
golf,
it was like
golf.
So let's just say we're going to draw out of all the mastermind that you have. We're going to draw a name out of the hat, and you have to play them for $100 in golf. You'd probably play that bet, right? It's $100, right?
$100, yes.
What if it was 10 grand and you had to draw a name out of the hat?
Not a chance.
Okay.
Did you see me at Top Golf?
Yeah, I did. What's funny is there comes a point which you just said where but if he had to play and it was $1,000 or 10 grand, he would become the most present and try to be just better at golf during that round, And so it is funny when you say that, when I amplify something, it does force me to really get locked in and figure it out.
Yeah, man. Circumstances allow you to arise to the occasion where you're no longer relying on your thought process. And the cool thing is most people don't do the activity long enough to get good at a thing, right?
That's also true.
Mastery, right? So we most agents, they think that they have 20 years of experience. They actually just have 1 year of experience repeated over 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is they've only mastered one skill. And so when the competition, or you get to that point where you're like, oh, okay, back's against the wall. Well, now you're not thinking. And that's where the mastery comes in. All the things you've learned, all the things you've tried before, you're not thinking, you're just doing. You don't have time to think, right? End of the game, 2 seconds to go, right? Down by 1, Kobe gets the ball. He's not thinking about dribble, elbow in. He's like, give me the ball. I'm going to get to my spot. So if I can get a good look at the rim, it's going in. He's not thinking. And that's mastery, but that's because he's practiced that shot 1,000 times a day.
Correct.
And most people don't really understand that part. Mastery is to effortlessly execute without the use of conscious resources.
Mm.
And most people aren't willing to put in that many hours of practice and all of these things. Like, how much content do you shoot? Right? How many videos do you post? How many events do you do? How many things do you go to? You go to a lot of stuff, right? And so, over time, you're able to trust your own innate ability, and out of your creativity is where the resources are going to come from.
Yeah, it's good, dude. It's strong, man. Well, dude, if people are like, you know what, I like this Arturo cat, I want to learn more from him, how should they do that?
Well, I would say, man, there'll be a free link in the description of this video where people can go, and it's Life Insurance Agent University, and there's a link where you could go and actually, it's a free course. There's about 30 hours of content in there, and the reason why I made this is because a lot of people, talk the talk and don't really walk the walk online, and everybody's got a course and everybody's got a training, but I wanted to be able to give people that don't know me when they first interact with me some value. And so there's 30 hours of content in Life Insurance Agent University. And you can go through that. And then from there, there's an opportunity for, if anybody's interested, like, man, I like him, right? You can click and follow me at Arturo Johnson Consulting on Instagram, or you can book a call with our team. But, I just wanted to kind of lead with some value for some free stuff. That way people can really get a sense of if Arturo's the real deal.
I love it, dude. He is the real deal. You do an amazing job. You always bring value, and you have a huge heart. You care about people. You're really good with relationships too. Dude, that's tough, man. Like, when you're busy, to still stop and pay attention to people. Like, I love that you do that. So thanks for being that way.
For sure, man. Well, it's definitely been a great relationship with you, and all the doors is opened up with just connecting with folks that, being on a platform like this, I'm able to get on their radar, to have that communication. And a lot of people don't really invest in their relationships anymore. They kind of miss that piece. But that's the thing that's going to get you through the doors that your reputation won't get you, is what other people think about you. And people don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel.
So true, dude. Arturo Johnson, thank you for being back on the Power Player Podcast.
For sure. Take care.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for listening to Power Player Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.